Hello! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariel and today I'm going to talk about how to build a basic Fairycore wardrobe, and I'm also going to touch upon how to build a Grunge Fairy Wardrobe. So I hope this helps you out, and if it does, subscribe, leave a like, and comment. And if you want more fashion content, follow me on Instagram as well at DRESSRELIEF and on TikTok at DRESSRELIEF. And let's get started. Okay, so first off, what is Fairycore? According to aesthetics.fandom.com, it is an aesthetic surrounding the theme of nature, soft pastels, butterflies, magic, flowers, soft animals like bunnies, and the vibe of springtime. So it has a lot of similarities to cottagecore, such as the love for animals, flowers, gardening, and just nature in general. But I feel like Fairycore is more ethereal and otherworldly, meanwhile cottagecore has more of a farm-like vibe to the aesthetic. I think the term originated on Tumblr if I'm not mistaken, but recently has gained quite a lot of traction and popularity through TikTok. It also seems like it's kind of died down since its peak on TikTok, but I feel like it's still such a really pretty aesthetic, and I think it's kind of coming back a little bit for the fall, or there's still a lot of people who really like it, so I really wanted to talk about Fairycore more because I still really love the style even though it's not as trendy anymore. The TikTok fashion cycles are just moving way too fast. I hate these micro trends. I still really love Fairycore and I'm gonna keep liking it even though it's not trendy anymore. I also wanted to touch upon the Grunge Fairycore aesthetic, aka Grunge Fairy, aka Fairy Grunge, which is a subset of the Fairycore aesthetic, and like the name suggests, it's a mixture of Fairycore and the Grunge aesthetics. And personally, I'm really drawn to this aesthetic because I've always loved edgy alternative styles, and I love how this mixes those alternative styles with more ethereal and feminine pieces from Fairycore. So first off, let's talk about some basic elements for Fairycore. A lot of it, like I said earlier, will overlap with cottagecore, so things like flowy skirts and dresses, such as prairie skirts, or lace and crochet detailing. I'd go for like a crochet cardigan or a crochet purse, such as this one that my mom made me. My mom is so talented at crocheting and she made me this sunflower purse and I love it so much. I'm definitely going to wear it for my Fairycore outfits. Some other elements that would overlap with cottagecore would be like bows and ribbons, which you can wear in your hair, or little details on your clothes, as well as puff sleeves and floral prints. In terms of color palette, I would go for earthy colors because a lot of Fairycore is rooted in the love for nature, and I'd also go for like pastel colors because there's also kind of a magical element to Fairycore and you can really have fun with it that way. And for shoes, I wouldn't be too strict about it. I just try to go with that color palette, but I'd probably go for slippers, sandals, open-toed shoes, or like a brown lace-up boot. For jewelry and accessories, I'd go for either dainty jewelry with some pretty gemstones, or I would go for some fun, colorful jewelry, maybe something like mushroom earrings or beaded jewelry. I think especially handmade jewelry really goes with the Fairycore aesthetic because I feel like with Fairycore and cottagecore as well, handcrafted items, crocheting, sewing, knitting, I feel like those all fit the culture and lifestyle of the aesthetic as well. Some other things you could wear as well would be funky knit socks, arm warmers or leg warmers, and again you can crochet or knit those yourself as well. Would be a fun DIY project. And like I said earlier, there's also that magical element to Fairycore, so I would also try to include a little bit of glitter, whether that's in the fabrics or in like a shimmery makeup look. Some other elements that I think would deviate from the cottagecore aesthetic a little bit would be asymmetrical hems, raw edges, or lettuce edges. I feel like that kind of almost messy look, kind of like it was made in a forest, you know? I think that would fit the Fairycore aesthetic really well. Next, I wanted to talk about some basic elements for the Grunge Fairy aesthetic. I think skirts really fit the Grunge Fairy aesthetic, long ones like we mentioned in the Fairycore aesthetic, but also mini skirts as well could fit the aesthetic. I'm saying aesthetic too much. Mini skirts could fit the Grunge Fairy style as well, but I would go for like muted earthy colors or like just a generally darker color palette than Fairycore. Oversized t-shirts, hoodies, and sweaters also really fit the Grunge Fairy aesthetic, especially if it's like a graphic tee with like an edgy pattern or graphic on it. And another thing I see in Grunge Fairycore a lot as well is corsets, which I think could also fit Fairycore in a lighter color, but I see it a lot in Grunge Fairycore. For shoes, I would go for a platform combat boot or like one of those Demonia style boots that make you feel like you're gonna go stomp on someone, but please don't, because I don't want you to get arrested for assault. And then for accessories, I'd go for like ripped sheer tights or like fishnet tights. And then for jewelry, I think the Fairycore jewelry I mentioned earlier might be able to fit in, but you could also go for like edgier accessories, maybe like jewelry like silver chains and things like that. And also arm warmers like I mentioned earlier, knee-high socks, and asymmetrical hems, lettuce edges, raw edges I think also apply here. Now, I'm sure you're all wondering, where the heck am I gonna buy all these things? So let's talk about that for a little bit. So first of all, my #1 recommendation all the time is thrifting or secondhand, but especially for Fairycore and Grunge Fairycore, I feel like you can find a lot of stuff secondhand. Like basically my whole Fairycore wardrobe is bought secondhand. I shop a lot on Depop, on Poshmark. You could try ThredUp, and of course thrifting in person. I feel like there's plenty of options for the Fairycore aesthetic. You can find like those crochet cardigans, flowy skirts and dresses. Quite a lot of the items I mentioned today you can find secondhand, so if that is an option for you, then I definitely recommend that first of all. You can also try Etsy. I feel like there's a lot of Fairycore options on Etsy, especially when it comes to jewelry. I get quite a lot of my jewelry on Etsy. For those flowy skirts and dresses and maybe some floral print items or puff sleeve tops, you can try Madewell or Free People. I find that their style is often flowy and bohemian and would definitely fit the Fairycore aesthetic. ModCloth can also have some cute, funky, vintage inspired items and accessories that might fit this aesthetic as well. And if you want a more affordable option, I would try YesStyle, especially for those like edgy graphic tees. I see a lot of those on there, and accessories like leg warmers and tights you might be able to find on there. And you can also try maybe ASOS or Topshop. They have quite a lot of different styles in their collection, so you might be able to find some stuff that fit these. So you might be able to find some stuff that fit the Fairycore aesthetic as well. For Grunge Fairycore specifically, I really love Tunnel Vision, which is a small brand that has a lot of like alternative accessories and clothing options. And you can also try Demonia, like I mentioned earlier, for the shoes. So overall, like I said earlier, Fairycore has a lot of items that overlap with cottagecore, so if you already have a cottagecore wardrobe, that would help a lot. But there's also some more like magical elements and touches you can add to your wardrobe to make it a little bit more Fairycore. And with Grunge Fairycore, it's basically a more edgy alternative version of Fairycore. And so I really hope these items and the places to shop really helps you out and helps you in building your wardrobe. So thanks so much for watching, and again, I hope this helps you out, and if it did, leave a like and comment and subscribe for more content, and let me know what you want to see in the future. And follow me on Instagram at @DRESSRELIEF and on TikTok at DRESSRELIEF for even more fashion content, and I'll see you guys next week.